everyone. Welcome to our Flight Club podcast for October. We are so excited to have all of you members here joining us today, and we have some very special guests. Victor Martinez, you guys know, is your Flight Club manager, leading all of our wine club choices. Maggie Harrison, most of you guys have probably met here at Flight, working with Vintage Wine Distributor. We have Adam Mahler from Ampelography, who helped get this wine to Ohio. And then we have Kim McLeod of Amie Vineyards, who's seeing us here today right from the vineyard, which is really exciting. Kim, thank you so much for being with us. Adam and Maggie as well. Really great to have everyone
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah, so looks like a beautiful day to have a conversation in the vineyard. So thanks for joining us. I know
Yeah,
you've
things
got
are
lots of
happening out here.
things are happening. So let's start off by having you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into the wine industry, and then maybe you can follow up with where you currently are standing.
Yes. Okay, so I have been in Oregon since 2005. I actually started at Anime in 2005. I moved to Oregon in 2004 after a 3-year stint in South Africa, which a lot of people don't know. That's really how I started in the wine industry. I moved over there sort of on a whim with a guy, and his family was in the wine industry on the labeling side of things. So I moved back to the States in 2000, was in DC for a little bit, and came out to Oregon in 2004 for my cousin's wedding. She got married up in the San Juan Islands. And I had been wanting to get, I was like, oh, wine country life really got me. I grew up on a farm in Virginia. So I was, naturally drawn to that agriculture thing. But got back into Virginia and was like, I don't really want to be in Virginia wine industry. But then when I got to Oregon, I thought, oh my gosh, they have wine out here. I had no idea, right? So I ended up packing my things and moving out to Oregon end of 2004. And early 2005, I answered an ad in the paper, kids, when ads were still in the paper, for a national sales manager position at Anime, which I at the time had no business applying for at all. I had no experience. I just knew that, hey, I've been in wine for the last 3 years. I can do this. So I came out there with my, confidence and PowerPoint presentation. And they, of course, said no, but they said, we really like you. We want to get you into our tasting room. And so I worked in the tasting room for about 5 months until they hired me on full time as the direct to consumer manager, managing tasting room, wine club, and all the events. So yeah, I did that for about 3 years at Anime, and then they started sending me out on the road, sort of midway through that 3-year period. And Adam and I were just talking about this yesterday. I believe it was 2006, end of 2006. My very first national sales trip was to Ohio, so that kind of
Oh,
kicked it
awesome.
off, which is pretty cool. And yeah, and then like since then, over the last 2 decades, I've just been, I moved into a more of a sales director position. And then in 2008, we ended up getting rid of he left, our general manager left, and then we started managing the winery more as a team. And so over that time, I've worn many hats. And so I've been really, deeply involved in Anime and sort of building this brand over the last 20 years and doing all the things. So that's how I got here. Do you want me to keep going or do you want to ask a
Yeah, no,
question?
that's amazing. I don't think I knew that you had started in South Africa. That's really cool.
Yeah,
And obviously amazing that you ended up in Oregon and Anime. Where are you currently standing? Where are you broadcasting from today?
I'm broadcasting from a new to me vineyard, and we can get more into that later. But this is called Abisher Vineyard, and I wanted you to be able to see Mount Hood. It's out there, but you can't see it today because it's a little bit cloudy, a little bit smoky. It's actually really hot. It's supposed to be 90 degrees today. We have like one more little hot spell. Um, and things, this is in the Chehalem Mountains. So I've been working with fruit in the Chehalem Mountains. We've been working with fruit in the Chehalem Mountains for the last 20 years. Anime Estate was in Yamhill Carlton, but we had a Chehalem Mountain property called 12 Oaks Estate. So I'm very familiar with this AVA, and I am going to continue working in these AVAs. But this is a new site to me, and I'm really excited. There's there's about 14 acres here. Pinot Noir, Gamay planted. I can show you some grapes if you want me to get close.
Yeah, let's see
Um,
it.
and yeah, let's look at some grapes, guys. I don't know how to turn my phone around. Let's see. How do I do that? Oh, this is going to be a technical difficulty. Hey, I'm just going to do this because I know you
Yeah,
can see.
that works.
But yeah, so things are happening. You can see it's almost fully completely changed color, but it's right now people are out picking for sparkling wines and then rosé will be next. So yeah, so that's why I'm actually meeting with the vineyard manager at 11 today to go over some to look at different vineyard sites that I'm going to be working with. So that's why I'm here today, and it's also beautiful. So yeah.
Amazing. So speaking of your history with Anime, I learned not that long ago that there were some changes, and you are now one of the owners of the company as well.
Yes. So last year, the owners announced that they were going to be retiring and essentially they had two wineries out here and they were retiring. And along with them retiring the brand. And so Boyd Pearson, who is the national sales manager at Anime, he and I got together and decided we were going to try to sort of take one bite at a time, take this brand one SKU at a time because we're not millionaires. We don't have enough money to buy an actual winery and all that stuff. So Boyd and I connected with Jay, who is currently making the wine at Anime, and decided to buy a little bit of fruit, or a little bit of juice rather, from the 23 harvest and make it into one wine, the winemaker's Pinot 23. And then fast forward to the end of the year last year, the owners just decided that they were going to be closing up shop. And so everything's sort of like catapulted fast forward. And as of April 2025, I have taken over the brand. So a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, you own a winery." I don't own a winery. I am tasting out of the back of my Subaru when I do tasting. So it's kind of exciting because it's like back in the day. This is how we all used to operate out here. But yes, I am now going to be taking over the brand. Well, I now have taken over the brand, and I've really I've rebranded, and we can talk more about that. I can show you the labels and everything. Um, the previous owners, their daughters are Anne and Amie, which is where the name comes from. And they had this very fancy label, for those of you who have seen the old historic label with the ladies on it. And that was never really anything that I connected with. But of course, I didn't own the winery. So over the course of 20 years, tried to modernize that as as I could. It used to be like a doily shape and it had like wings and, had two vintages. And so I was able to sort of modernize that and the shape and the font and everything. And then in 2018, I convinced them to let me introduce a brand new label for our rosé, which I actually have here. And this is a label, if you can see it.
Yeah.
This is done by an artist, Kate Blairstone. She's a neighbor and friend of mine in Portland. And so Kate and I walked the vineyards and talked about what I wanted the label to look like and, the flavor profiles and all the things. The Western Prescott Bluebird that's on this label is actually a real bluebird that was on the property. And so anyway, so we made this wine and it was wildly successful. And so I sort of just started from there, trying to see if I could change a couple of other things. And I ended up changing the Muller-Thurgau, which you guys are gonna have. You have in your glass right now. You're probably drinking it as I'm talking. Muller-Thurgau was the next one to change, and then last year, knowing that we were going to be taking over the winery, I introduced a new label for Gamay Pinot Noir blend, Pas du Grand, this label.
Nice.
And then earlier this year in May, I introduced a new Pinot Gris label. And so now I have a lineup that is definitely feels, it's definitely more me. And it also, to me, looks like what I think the wine tastes like. So these are like fresh, easy drinkers. And I have one more label coming out in the beginning of next year for the Pinot Noir. And yeah, so lots of changes, but the same wine, the same style is going to be what goes in the bottle, but it's just shaking it up a little bit. Given the people what they want, I think who doesn't like a great wine in a pretty package?
Absolutely. And actually, that was going to be one of my next questions is, what is staying the same and what will we see that's going to be different from you guys? And you sort of just addressed that, but are you planning on making any new wines and bringing anything new to the line as you look to the future?
So I've really condensed the lineup for anybody that's familiar with Anime in the past. We had a direct to consumer program, so we had a club, and there were lots of wines that went in and out. There were sparkling wines, there were all kinds of things. So in this main portfolio that I'm going to be focused on, there are going to be six wines. So the Muller Turgau, the Pinot Gris, the seasonal rosé, the Pinot Blanc, which I didn't show you, which is a different label, but this is the Pinot Blanc Enchanté, the Pastugran, and the Pinot Noir. So I would say stylistically, everything's staying the same. The only difference will be the last two vintages of the Pastugran. That traditionally is something that's co-fermented, and we haven't co-fermented it. It's been blending Pinot Noir and Gamay at the end. And so that's something for 2025 vintage that we're doing. We're co-fermenting that. So that's a little bit of a different thing. The As far as introducing new labels, I'm really just going to focus on six for now. There is a possibility that I might bring back the straight Gamay, which is more in this. It looks more like this label, and that would be something I would consider for end of next year in sort of small quantities. But otherwise, I'm just sort of tightening things up and not overwhelming my lovely distributor partners like Maggie and people who don't want to carry more than, six bottles in a bag. It's really only six spots in the bag. So that's what I'm sticking with.
That sounds very reasonable. Well,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about Gamay because you were saying that you're looking at some Gamay and Pinot Noir vineyards right now, and I love the Anime Gamay. So I will definitely encourage that bottling to come back if I have any say in the matter. I loved that wine.
Noted.
But
Noted.
yeah, so let's talk about the Muller Turgau that everyone is drinking in Flight Club because it's unique, it's fun. We were so excited to see the new labeling. It's absolutely beautiful. You guys knocked it out of the park with that.
Thank
So tell
you.
us why Muller Turgau? How did it get there? How has it become one of your signature whites?
Okay, so I can tell you, I understand why Muller Turgau made it to the Willamette Valley. I don't necessarily understand how it made it to the Willamette Valley, but Muller Turgau, the grape itself, for those of you who don't know, is a grape that was created by Hermann Muller from Turgau, Switzerland. So Hermann Muller was a Swiss botanist, and he was working on breeding and a lot of experimental viticulture back in the late 1800s. And so he created this grape. He wanted the aromatics of Riesling crossed with, at the time, he thought the other parent grape was Sylvaner. So the earlier ripening properties of Sylvaner, it ended up being Madeleine Royale. But anyway, so this is something that can ripen earlier and can, grow happily in cooler climates. So that's definitely why it made it to Oregon, because back in the 70s, Oregon was much cooler than it is now. Still cool climate, but much cooler. And so for us specifically, the original owners of the property were Fred and Mary Benoit. And their story goes that they had a Swiss winemaker. And this Swiss winemaker happened to see this plant at the nursery and was like, oh, I know what to do with this plant. So he planted it on the Anime estate property in Yamhill Carlton in 1979. And that was the first planting, to my knowledge. I've tried to do lots of research on this. The first planting of that grape in the Willamette Valley. The second, the Kramers planted in 1980, and then Sokol Blosser planted a bunch in 2000. So we inherited the Muller Turgau. The Benoits used to make it. Adam, I'm going to tell your story. The Benoits, it's not his story, but he likes the story. The Benoits used to make it in a very sweet style, lots of residual sugar. And they used to jokingly say that it was the number one cause of teenage pregnancy in McMinnville in the 1980s. So it was like the Boone's Farm of the Willamette Valley. But then Thomas Houseman came on board in 2007, and he totally changed the style to what it is today. So very, Alsace, crisp, clean, still has those great aromatics, but it's like a really beautiful, easy drinking, acid driven wine.
It's
And I
fabulous.
have I have some pairing stuff if you guys, I don't know, do you guys get
Yeah,
pairings?
let's talk
Absolutely.
about pairings. Yes.
Let's talk about pairings, or let's talk about what this wine. I mean, this wine is just, I mean, it's so versatile. It's delicious. It's perfect by itself on a nice warm day. But it's also because it's similar to Riesling or parent is Riesling, it goes great with anything spicy. So, Thai food, Indian food. But my very favorite pairing of all time, and this is kind of me tooting my horn a little bit, but I will toot it because this was a cool placement. But when Juliet Pope was the wine director at Gramercy Tavern in New York City, she put it on by the glass, and they made this incredible scallop ceviche for it with it. And I can still see the plating, I can still smell it and taste it. And it was like literally one of the most amazing pairings. So if any of your flight club members are, know how to ceviche a scallop, I highly recommend it.
I mean, that sounds like a project. Maybe we'll find a recipe for them and send it their
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I bet there's one online somewhere. I bet it exists.
100% there is. We'll find
Yeah.
it. We'll find it. That sounds wonderful though. And we've tasted the wine. I've known this wine for several years, but we've tasted the wine more recently. And it is really refreshing and it does have an Alsatian sort of vibe to it. And I think like the richness of the scallop with like the crispness of the wine would be really nice too. But it's textural as well. Um,
Hmm.
I think that sounds wonderful. So speaking of wines and things that are your favorites, what is your favorite thing? What is the favorite thing that you're making right now at Anime?
Oh,
I know
well,
it's a hard
yeah,
question.
it's so hard. It's so hard. Well, we just bottled this Pinot Blanc that I think is really pretty. It's when people used to come to the tasting room and ask for Chardonnay, do you have a Chardonnay? We don't have a Chardonnay, but we make this neutral barrel, or not neutral barrel. It's a barrel aged Pinot Blanc. Some of the barrels go through Malo and some do not. And so it's got that richness, but it's still really acid driven and it's really pretty. It's in limited quantities, made under 500 cases this year. And that just got bottled and I tasted it last week and I was like, oh my God, this wine is gorgeous. So, and actually Ohio is it doesn't go to every market, but Ohio gets this wine. So,
This is
um,
the Enchanté Pinot Blanc.
yes, the
Yes.
Enchanté Pinot Blanc.
Noted. We'll have to get ourselves
Yeah.
some of that. We've actually worked with that wine in the past. We used it for a promotion last year and it is wonderful. We got fantastic feedback. So but excited to try what you've made this year. So that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Thank
So
you.
speaking of winemaking process, what is the process with the Muller Turgau? Is it, I'm guessing no barrel?
No barrel. This is all stainless, but on the lees. The Pinot Gris and the Muller Turgau are both in stainless on the lees. So it's got a little bit of that creaminess to it, but it's picked early. It's really sort of ripping acidity, and the stainless steel is the way on that wine.
And for
I mean, I'm
people
sure
that don't
somebody does
know,
make it the other way. Go ahead.
for people that don't know about what on the leaves means, can you give us a quick little tutorial
Yeah.
on that?
Yes, it's just yeast, and it's the yeast is left in the tank so that it gives sort of a textural feel. It gives the wine a textural feel. Um, yeah, I don't know if anybody else wants to be more technical than me, Adam.
A lot of winemakers will say it adds like a saltiness, the savoriness, sort of that umami comes from the lees and it's the dead yeast cells and the particulate matter that falls out of solution in the wine. So all the sediment basically.
Before it's
Yeah,
filtered off
Exactly.
and right,
yeah,
exactly. Okay.
yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. So, for those of you trying the wine and Flight Club, as you're tasting it and noticing that there's like a nice soft texture, maybe even a little creamy, as Adam said, maybe like that little touch of saltiness to it. That's part of the winemaking process, which is kind of fun to know as you're tasting through things. So, what's on the horizon for you and for Anime? What's next? You've rebranded, you've tightened up the line, and things are moving forward. What's on the horizon? What's next for the winery?
Ooh, it's a lot of work because I'm kind of a one woman band right now. Obviously, I have the help of distribution partners, and Adam is helping me in the Midwest, and I'm kind of expanding. I don't know if we talk about that, but Adam is has a couple other people he's joining forces with that are going to be helping a few of us wine people navigate the country when we don't have a whole sales force. I mean, I went from having Boyd and I splitting this country to now I'm in 30 markets and I'm the only one doing all the work. So if you're emailing me, it's just me. It's always me. It's like literally people are like, you, they say you. And my husband the other day, I said something about we, and he was like, who's we? He's like, why do you keep saying we? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just a thing. You say we instead of me. But I think for me, it's just we're moving the operation away from the winery because the winery is actually for sale for any of people who might be interested in a winery. The winery is for sale, and that's going to just allow me a lot more freedom because right now I'm dealing with trucking companies and BOLs and getting wine in and out, and it's just been a lot of work while trying to sort of relaunch a brand. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to having pieces in place that can people who know how to do things better than me do those things, and then I can do the other things that I'm used to doing. So yeah,
Always the hallmark of having a good team around you, right? So having
yes,
surrounding yourself with people who do the things you can't. So well, that's
exactly.
awesome. Well, I wish you and Amie and the new brand and everything that's going on the best of luck. Before we sign off, any questions from Adam, Victor, Maggie, for Kim before we let her go have her vineyard meeting? Gotta go talk grapes. Well, Kim, thank you. Oh, thank you so much for joining us. It was really a pleasure getting to hear about everything that's been going on. Tons of changes, and you sound extremely busy, but also you seem very excited and very happy. So,
Yes,
congratulations to you on all of the
thank you.
things. And we are very excited to be sharing your Muller Turgau with our members. And when you do get back in the market, please come see us. We would love to say hello, have an event, and have a
Absolutely.
party around your visit. And in the meantime, we'll just all have to come out and visit you somehow.
Come out and get the back of the Subaru is waiting for you.
We're there. We're
Thank
there.
you so much, Lindsay. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. And enjoy your wine flight club. Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers.
cheers.
Bye.